Welcome back, everyone. We've got another deep dive ready to go. You guys send us some really interesting stuff. And this time around, we're going to be looking at foods that might help fight cancer, specifically a YouTube video featuring Dr. Barbara O'Neill,
Oh, yeah, Dr. O'Neill.
a neuropath who really emphasizes natural healing.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that she got into natural healing because of her child's recovery,
Yeah.
from an illness. So it kind of gives her a personal stake in it, I think.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting perspective to come at it from.
Yeah, it definitely does. Now, you might be joining us today because you're looking for ways to improve your diet, or maybe you're curious about natural approaches to health. Whatever your reason,
Right.
we're here to break it all down for you.
Yeah, and one of the core parts of her approach is the acid, alkaline theory of cancer,
Okay.
which is basically the idea that cancer thrives in acidic environments, so making your body more alkaline is key. And she suggests that this approach should be combined with oxygenation and reducing sugar intake. But for this deep dive, we're going to focus mostly on the food aspect.
Right. Now, I know some of you out there are probably thinking, does science actually support this theory? And that's a great question. We're going to get into that a little bit later. But first, let's see what Dr. O'Neill actually recommends eating.
Okay, so she starts by recommending several grains: millet, quinoa, amaranth, spelt, brown rice, and oats, all of which are alkaline and gluten-free.
I actually tried millet for breakfast the other day. It wasn't bad at all.
Oh, really? I love millet.
Yeah,
It's really good.
it was good. I liked it.
A lot of people are kind of scared of it, but it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, besides the taste, which I guess is important too, we want to talk about why these grains are beneficial.
Right. Exactly. And one of the big reasons is fiber.
Yeah.
Fiber is so good for you. It binds to those harmful carcinogens, helps flush them out, acts as a prebiotic, which means it feeds the good bacteria in your gut, keeps everything running smoothly, and it also helps stabilize blood sugar, which is super important because cancer cells, they love those sugar spikes.
Yeah, they love sugar.
It's like a feast for them.
Yeah, it feeds them. And then the gluten-free aspect is also really interesting, because while gluten itself may not be directly linked to cancer, reducing inflammation in your body is generally a good idea.
Right.
And for some people, gluten can trigger that inflammation.
Okay. So it's not necessarily the gluten that's the problem, but it's the inflammation that it can cause for some people.
Right.
Okay. So if you're looking to reduce inflammation, support your gut health, these grains could be a good place to start. Now, next up on the list, we've got legumes,
Okay.
lima beans, soy, and lentils. Dr. O'Neill calls these alkaline forming, and she highlights their unique benefits.
Yeah, lima beans, for instance, have protease inhibitors, which some studies suggest might actually help prevent breast and colon cancer.
Interesting.
And then soy. Soy is rich in isoflavones,
Yeah.
like genistein and daidzein, which basically mimic estrogen in the body. And so there's been a lot of research into soy and its potential benefits for hormone-sensitive cancers, like breast cancer.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And then we have lentils, which are a great source of folate.
Oh, yeah, folate.
Folate's important for healthy cell division, and it's been linked to potentially protecting against colon and breast cancer.
Right. Okay, so a lot of benefits there.
Yeah, definitely. And it's worth noting that all three of these legumes are also excellent sources of fiber, which we've already talked about. So important for overall health and potentially for cancer prevention. They also contain compounds called saponins, which some studies suggest may inhibit cancer cell growth.
So a lot going on with these legumes, a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, they're a nutritional powerhouse.
Yeah. Now, get ready for this. Dr. O'Neill is really enthusiastic about lemons. She actually suggests every home should have a lemon tree.
Bro,
I know.
No.
She loves them.
lemons are great. They are a really good source of alkaline minerals: sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and iron.
Okay.
All of which are essential for maintaining that pH balance that Dr. O'Neill talks about.
Right. So lemons are kind of like a multivitamin in that sense.
Kinda.
Yeah. And here's a fun fact. Lemons actually have more potassium than apples or grapes. I know.
Wow.
And we all know potassium is good for heart health, helps regulate blood sugar.
Absolutely. And speaking of heart health, magnesium, which is also in lemons, helps regulate your body's stress response. And chronic stress can actually suppress your immune system, which might make you more susceptible to various diseases, including cancer.
Right. So it all kind of connects: the stress, magnesium deficiency, weakened immune system.
Yeah, it's all connected.
Definitely.
And then there's the calcium in lemons, which helps our bodies absorb vitamin D. And we're learning more and more these days about vitamin D and its role in potentially lowering cancer risk.
Right, because vitamin D is involved in regulating cell growth and differentiation, which can help keep those cells from becoming cancerous. And while our bodies can produce vitamin D from sunlight, lemons might help us utilize it more effectively.
So it's like a little helper.
Yeah, like a boost.
Yeah. No, wait, there's more. Dr. O'Neill highlights lemon. It's an antioxidant that's found abundantly in both the peel and the juice of lemons.
Ah, lemon. Yeah.
Yes, lemon is being studied extensively for its anti-cancer properties. Research suggests it may help prevent cancer cells from spreading, trigger apoptosis, which is basically programmed cell death for cancer cells, and possibly even make conventional cancer treatments more effective.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. So don't just squeeze the juice out of your lemon. Use the zest, too.
Yes.
All right, now who doesn't love nuts? Dr. O'Neill gives a thumbs up to almonds, Brazil nuts, and seeds in general.
I love nuts.
Me too.
They're so good.
Yeah, and they're so good for you.
Yeah, they're a nutritional powerhouse. They offer healthy fats, fiber, protein. It's a great combination for keeping your blood sugar stable, preventing those energy spikes that cancer cells love.
Right, those spikes are like candy to those cancer cells.
Yeah.
And plus they're packed with antioxidants, protecting your cells from damage caused by free radicals. It's like a constant battle going on at a microscopic level, and antioxidants are the good guys fighting for us.
Exactly. Like walnuts, for example. They contain a type of antioxidant called gamma-tocopherol. That's been linked to a reduced risk of breast cancer.
Interesting. So many benefits. And then there are the walnuts. We know they have anti-inflammatory properties. And we know that inflammation is linked to many types of cancer.
Right.
So if you're concerned about inflammation, adding walnuts to your diet could be a delicious way to get those inflammation-fighting omega-3s.
Yeah, and the way omega-3s work is really fascinating. They can actually convert into compounds called resolvins and protectins, which are really powerful inflammation fighters.
So it's not just about what omega-3s prevent, it's about what they actively do in our bodies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a two-pronged attack against inflammation.
Yeah.
And there's even more. Omega-3s can also inhibit cancer cell growth by activating certain proteins called PPARs. These PPARs are kind of like tiny switches that can suppress the growth of cancer cells and even promote their death.
Man, this is amazing. It's incredible how much is going on beneath the surface of these everyday foods.
I know, right?
Okay, so what's next on the list?
Well, speaking of powerful plant-based foods, Dr. O'Neill is also a big advocate for eating dark leafy greens every single day.
Oh, yeah.
She specifically mentions kale, parsley, collard greens, and spinach.
Okay, leafy greens.
Yeah,
Those are good for everything. They're like the superheroes of the food world.
they really are.
And, you know, they're beneficial for so much more than just potentially fighting cancer. For example, they're great for your digestion,
Oh, yeah.
help keep things moving smoothly, and potentially even reduce the risk of colon cancer-related issues.
Exactly.
And we can't forget about their impressive antioxidant power. I mean, these greens are full of vitamin C and E plus beta-carotene, all working together to protect your cells from those harmful free radicals. So they're constantly on guard, defending our cells from damage. So I'm curious what makes each of these leafy greens unique. What are some of the specific compounds they offer?
Well, let's start with kale. It boasts glucosinolates, which are compounds that have been shown to suppress cancer cell growth, and camphorol, which is a flavonoid that's been linked to a lower risk of cancer and other chronic diseases.
Okay, kale's got a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a powerhouse.
What about parsley?
Parsley, which, a lot of people just use as a garnish,
Yeah.
is surprisingly nutrient-packed.
Oh.
It contains apigenin, which has powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, and myrizidin, which is known for its potential anti-cancer effects.
Wow. Parsley is definitely more than just a pretty face.
That is.
What about collard greens?
Collard greens are a great source of antioxidants, like quercetin and beta-carotene, which we already talked about. They also contain glucoraphanin, which is a compound that helps your body get rid of potential carcinogens through detoxification.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then there's spinach?
Spinach, which is a good source of alpha-lipoic acid, an antioxidant that reduces inflammation and may inhibit cancer cell growth. Plus, it's packed with folate, which is crucial for healthy cell division.
Wow. It's amazing how much goodness is packed into these leafy greens.
I know, it's incredible.
You know, earlier we talked about how Dr. O'Neill emphasizes the acid. alkaline theory of cancer, but we've also been highlighting a lot of research on antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. So it makes me wonder, is it really all about the pH level, or are these other mechanisms more important? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. And it's definitely an area of ongoing research. The alkaline theory as it relates to cancer is a bit controversial. While some people believe that an acidic diet directly causes cancer and that alkalizing the body can cure it, there's no strong scientific evidence to support those claims.
So Dr. O'Neill's core premise might need a closer look.
Yeah, I mean, the research doesn't show a clear link between the overall acidity of your diet and cancer development. However, there is some research that suggests that an acidic environment within tumors themselves can make them grow and spread more aggressively.
So it's not so much about the pH of your whole body, but more about what's happening at the cellular level within the tumor. Yeah.
Exactly. It's very localized.
Okay.
And this is where the research gets really interesting, because some studies suggest that certain foods, like those rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds, might actually be able to influence that tumor microenvironment, potentially slowing cancer cell growth and survival.
So while alkalizing the whole body might not be the answer, focusing on foods that make the tumor environment less hospitable could be a promising approach.
That's what some researchers are exploring. But it's a complex field, and we still have a lot to learn.
Right.
And it's important to remember that this information is for educational purposes and not a substitute for medical advice from a healthcare professional.
Yeah, that's a crucial point. It's always best to talk to your doctor for personalized guidance, especially if you have any health conditions or are taking medications. This all really highlights the importance of staying informed, doing your own research. We shouldn't just take one source at face value. It's about exploring different perspectives, digging into specific studies, and having those conversations with your doctor to figure out what's best for you.
Absolutely. Critical thinking is so important when navigating health information, especially with so much out there.
Yeah.
We can't definitively say that these foods will prevent or cure cancer.
Yeah.
But there's definitely evidence to suggest that they could be part of a healthy lifestyle that supports overall well-being.
And beyond their potential benefits in relation to cancer, these foods are just plain good for you. They're full of nutrients, fiber, antioxidants, things our bodies need to thrive.
Exactly. Adding more fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds to your diet is almost always a good idea.
We've covered so much ground today. From exploring Dr. O'Neill's recommended foods, digging into the research on the alkaline theory, to emphasizing the importance of personalized medical advice. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, it's important to step back and look at the bigger picture. While some of the claims out there might not be fully supported by scientific evidence, there's still a lot of valuable information we can gain from exploring these natural approaches to health.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance, being open to new ideas, but also grounding ourselves in evidence-based research and seeking guidance from qualified professionals.
Well said. And that leads me to what I think is the most important takeaway from our exploration so far: empowering yourself with knowledge.
I love that. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to our health. And speaking of empowerment, we have one more part to this deep dive where we'll share some additional insights and resources to help you continue your own exploration. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into cancer-fighting foods. We left off talking about leafy greens, kale, parsley, collards, spinach.
Yeah, those are some good ones.
Yeah, and they're good for so much more than just potentially fighting cancer. They're great for digestion,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
help keep things moving smoothly, potentially reduce the risk of colon cancer-related issues.
Right, and we can't forget their antioxidant power. I mean, they're full of vitamin C and E, beta-carotene, all working together to protect your cells from free radical damage,
Right, so they're constantly working, always on guard.
defending our cells. So I'm curious what makes each of these leafy greens unique. Like, what are some of the specific compounds that they offer?
Okay, well, let's start with kale. It's got glucosinolates,
Hmm.
which have been shown to suppress cancer cell growth, and camphorol, a flavonoid that's been linked to a lower risk of cancer and other chronic diseases.
Okay, so kale is a powerhouse.
Yeah, it is.
What about parsley?
Parsley, which a lot of people just use as a garnish,
Right.
is actually really nutrient-packed. It's got apigenin, powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, and myacidin, known for its potential anti-cancer effects.
Wow. So parsley is more than just a pretty face.
It is.
Okay, what about collard greens?
Collard greens are a great source of antioxidants like quercetin and beta-carotene, which we already talked about. They also have glucoraphanin. It helps your body get rid of potential carcinogens through detoxification.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And then there's spinach.
Spinach is a good source of alpha-lipoic acid. It's an antioxidant that reduces inflammation, and it may inhibit cancer cell growth. Plus, it's packed with folate, which is important for healthy cell division.
Right. Wow. It's incredible how much good stuff is packed into these leafy greens.
Yeah, they're really incredible.
You know, earlier we were talking about how Dr. O'Neill really emphasizes that alkaline theory of cancer, but we've also been talking a lot about the research on antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. So it kind of makes me wonder, is it really all about the pH level, or are these other mechanisms maybe more important?
That's a really good question. And it's an area of ongoing research, the acid. Alkaline theory as it relates to cancer. It's a little bit controversial because while some people think that an acidic diet can directly cause cancer and that making the body more alkaline can cure it, there's really no strong scientific evidence to support those claims.
So it sounds like Dr. O'Neill's premise there might need a little bit of a closer look.
Yeah, I mean, the research just doesn't show a clear link between the overall acidity of your diet and cancer development. However, there is some research suggesting that an acidic environment within the tumors themselves can make them grow and spread more aggressively.
So it's less about the pH of your whole body and more about what's happening at the cellular level.
Right, exactly.
Within the tumor.
Yeah, it's a very localized issue.
Okay.
And this is where the research gets really interesting because some studies suggest that certain foods, like those that are rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds, might actually be able to influence that tumor microenvironment and potentially slow down cancer cell growth and survival.
So it's not so much about alkalizing the whole body, but maybe more about making that tumor environment less hospitable.
Right. That's what researchers are exploring. But it's a complex field, and we still have a lot to learn.
Right.
It's important to remember this is all for educational purposes. It's not a substitute for medical advice.
Right. Always talk to your doctor.
Yes.
Especially if you have health conditions or are taking any medications. This really highlights the importance of staying informed, doing your own research. It's not just about taking one source at face value. It's about exploring different perspectives, looking at the studies, and talking to your doctor to really figure out what's best for you.
Absolutely. Critical thinking is so important.
Especially when it comes to your health.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can't say for sure that these foods will prevent or cure cancer, but the evidence does suggest that they can be part of a healthy lifestyle that supports your well-being.
Right. And even beyond the potential benefits for cancer, these foods are just plain good for you. They've got nutrients, fiber, antioxidants.
They do.
All the things our bodies need to thrive.
Yeah. And, adding more fruits and vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds to your diet is almost always a good idea.
We've covered so much ground today. We've explored Dr. O'Neill's recommendations. We dug into the research on the acid-alkaline theory, and we've emphasized the importance of personalized medical advice. It's been quite a journey.
It really has. And as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I think it's important to step back and look at the big picture. While some of the claims out there might not be fully supported by scientific evidence, there's still a lot we can learn from exploring these natural approaches to health.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance, being open to new ideas, but also grounding ourselves in the research and seeking guidance from qualified professionals.
Well said. And I think that leads me to what might be the most important takeaway from our exploration: empowering yourself with knowledge.
I love that.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to our health.
Exactly.
And speaking of empowerment, we've got one more part to this deep dive where we're going to share some additional insights and resources to help you continue your own exploration. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive on cancer-fighting foods. We've talked about a lot, but before we wrap up, I'm curious, what other insights did you find while going through all this material? One thing that really stood out to me was Dr. O'Neill's emphasis on whole, unprocessed foods. It's not just about specific ingredients, but the overall quality of your diet.
Yeah, it's about creating a good foundation
Exactly.
to your health.
And this is where I think the connection between nutrition and our gut microbiome gets really interesting.
Oh, the gut microbiome. Everyone's talking about that these days, and for good reason. How does that all fit into this?
Well, research is showing that a healthy gut microbiome, those trillions of bacteria living in your digestive tract, play a huge role in overall health. including how well your immune system functions,
Right, and a healthy immune system is so important.
especially for preventing diseases like cancer.
So how can we support those gut microbes?
Remember all that talk about fiber?
Oh, yeah.
Grains, legumes, fruits, vegetables, they all provide prebiotic fiber,
Hmm.
which feeds the good bacteria in your gut.
So we got to keep those little guys happy.
Exactly. And there's also growing research on fermented foods, which contain live probiotics.
Like yogurt and sauerkraut and kimchi.
Yeah, all those tangy, delicious things.
I love those.
Me too. And they might be doing more than just tasting good. They can actually introduce beneficial bacteria into our gut.
So we're adding to the team,
Right.
boosting those good microbes.
Exactly.
It's like creating a balanced ecosystem in our gut.
Yeah, and maintaining that balance can have a big impact on your health.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. As we start wrapping things up, are there any resources that you would recommend to our listeners who want to learn more?
Definitely. Organizations like the American Institute for Cancer Research and the World Cancer Research Fund, they have tons of evidence-based information on diet and cancer prevention.
Okay, great.
They also offer practical tips on how to incorporate these types of foods into your daily routine.
Awesome. Those are great resources. And it's important to remember that research is always evolving, so staying updated on the latest findings is key.
I agree. As we finish up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. We've talked about specific foods and their potential benefits, but the takeaway here is that it's not about finding that one magic food. It's about making informed choices, having a holistic approach to health, and finding what works best for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about taking charge of your health,
Yep.
being proactive,
Absolutely.
making healthy choices.
This is a journey, not a destination.
I like that. Well said.
Keep learning, exploring, and you'll discover even more along the way.
This has been such a great conversation. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you found it informative and empowering. Remember to keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep nourishing your body with delicious, healthy food.
Until next time, be well.